All right, we should be live.
Ooh.
So today I am going to be chatting with Ben Fitzpatrick, who is the lead dev of StormOS. We're going to chat a little bit about StormOS,
Okay.
and we're going to have some fun. Ben, say hi to the YouTube chat.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Yep. For those of you hanging out in the YouTube chat, give me a yay or a nay on the audio. Can you hear both me and Ben? Because our audio streams are obviously different. So
And
uh,
one thing, folks, I know my webcam is like directly in front of me, but that's typical with these, laptop streams that I do, and that's just how it's gonna be.
yeah, I think it'll be all right as long as everyone can hear. They really don't necessarily need to see us. So
Right, right.
yeah. So Ben, today we were going to talk a little bit about Storm OS, and I've taken a look at the latest Storm OS in the last couple of days. When I knew I was going to chat with you, I actually, for those of you watching the YouTube stream, I've got a virtual machine that I fired up, ran through a quick installation in Virt Manager, took a quick look around, went through the installation process, looked through the really nice XFCE desktop. I know XFCE, people think it's old and kind of simple, but it just works and it looks good.
Of course it
And
does.
it's comfy. I think that's the best way to describe XFCE is it's just comfy.
Yeah, it's basically, Seeker and I put a lot of, well, Seeker mainly did the revamp. We just put it together, but it was a very, putting it simply, it was a lot of the old theme that we had from some months ago was we've been using it for, oh, geez, 3+ years, and we just decided it was time for myself and the team to put something new together, something more with a bang and up to date and just more aesthetically pleasing. So he sent me a few demo screenshots of it on Discord, and I was like, dang, this looks really good. And it does. And, you know,
Mm.
we've been testing different ISOs, putting them out there one after one after one, and each one getting better as we went along. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the current one, I think, really hit the mark there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So this latest version, you're calling it Familia? Is that the code
yeah,
name
yeah,
for it?
it means family in Spanish, because Seeker is Hispanic to a point, and
Mm-hmm.
he came up with the name, and we were using version numbers for the longest time, based on the month and everything, and that was very much really, I think, made it a lot simpler to distribute the ISOs versus having a version stamp behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think really simplified, the build process. And also, speaking of the build process, we used to have a command line interface that we would build this from, but instead we decided to use a script that we don't publish that, but we decided to put that um, into a Qt based app that Seeker wrote
Mm-hmm.
that we decided to mess with instead. So,
And when you say an installation script,
no, not installation script, a build script for the
a build
ISO.
script. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
And
So
also, if you look on the desktop, there are a couple of app images that we threw on there.
I was going
That,
to ask you about that. That was the first thing I noticed. So,
yeah, and that was
mm-hmm.
partly because, I'll get to that in a minute. But the goal of this OS, Jake, is it's Arctic to simplify Arch into a newbie level users uh version of Arch with XFCE.
Yeah, and that was Jake in the chat asking, yeah, what's the goal of this OS? It is Arch based. Neither one of us had mentioned that, so that was
Yeah,
obviously people in the chat if they're not familiar. Yeah, it's
yeah.
uh, based on Arch. Real quick, he was mentioning the app images. So that is one of the things I noticed when I ran through the installation. It uses the standard Calamares installer, but
Installer, yeah,
we'll come
and
back to
it
that.
also comes with certain things in the installer to
Yeah,
know help
we'll get to the
certain
installer,
things
but I
like
want to mention
like
when
the
I went through
OTS
the
kernel if you're on older hardware, the Zen kernel if you're doing like gaming or
right,
heavy duty
right.
tasks. That's the
I
Zen
went with
kernel
all the
enabled.
defaults though, and here's the thing: if I go through all the defaults, if you go into the menu system, there is no browser.
Oh yeah, and
So
that's because we have like Vivaldi or Chrome on the desktop
yes, you have
to
Vivaldi
replace
and
that.
Chrome as app images here, but they they don't appear in the menu system because there's not a .desktop file
The
in
reason we didn't put those in the menu system was because these aren't installed as packages. They're just installed as like shortcuts, that kind of thing. And they're in the user local bin on the system itself.
hmm
If you right click the shortcuts on the desktop and show the properties, it will actually show you that they're in the system itself. They're not
Sure.
installed as package builds or anything like that. And that's partly why we did that was because they're actually sim linked from user local bin.
Sure.
So it would and we used an app image creator program that's on that we're later going to put on SourceForge
hmm
that Seeker wrote. So that's part of so putting these into like a package build would have been sort of a pain in the butt.
Well,
So
yeah, you don't need to a package build. So you've got them in the desktop folder, right?
yeah, they're on
The
the
home
desktop.
user slash desktop, and then you've got these .desktop files for the app
Right,
images.
right, exactly. So
If you put the .desktop file in user share applications, they'll be in your
yeah,
menu system.
next release we might end up doing that just to sort of
Yeah.
simplify things a little bit more.
Because I would suggest doing that because I'm one of those people, and many people are. They're gonna get rid of icons on the desktop. They'll turn it
Yeah,
off.
I get that.
They'll
Yeah,
then
so
they'll never find
this
those
is a
browsers.
fallback.
They'll
We'll probably put those in the user
yeah
share applications. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, getting back to the Calamaris installer, yeah, it was a breeze. It was one of those installers that you mentioned. Yeah, you can choose a kernel, you can choose certain
Yeah, like
desktop
drivers
applications,
and applications.
drivers, obviously web browsers. Now, I purposely didn't choose a web browser because I wanted to see what the defaults were.
And
Uh, and
there
you do have
isn't
the
really
fallbacks,
a standard browser on this.
right?
We gave people the choice of Chrome or
Mhm.
Vivaldi
Yeah.
because, I know
Well,
Google
I think
Chrome
those are
has
fine, and you got them as app images. If people don't want them, all they got to do is delete
just
the app
delete them.
image,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
And
I think it's a smart choice.
right, right. And we also included a our own version of our own screen recorder, as you can see on the top of the screen there. And
Yeah,
the yeah, that is a sort of a fork we did of simple screen recorder from some years ago, just in our own
hmm
sort of amped up way. If you pull it up, you'll see, that we've really taken SSR and that sort of thing and made it a lot more amped up, refined,
yeah, it looks
and
good.
yeah. And we did include an app image of OnlyOffice because, we could have done, for example, the standard LibreOffice or something like that, but we wanted to kind of branch out and, it also saves space on the ISO,
Yeah.
just
Well,
oh,
things like OnlyOffice and the two browsers, Vivaldi and Chrome, because they're proprietary, they're probably not in the standard Arch repos. So
yeah,
shipping them as
and
an app
plus,
image kind of makes sense. That way, you don't have to fool with the AUR, right?
right.
Yeah.
But what we did was we thought about it and, we're like, so many distros ship with a packaged version of LibreOffice and it bloats the heck out of it. So we just said, what's not bloated and what's the closest thing, for example, to MS Office or whatever, that's got familiarity. And we said, only
Yeah.
Office. So we said, what the heck?
Yeah, that's yeah.
And
Not everybody will need a full Office suite anyway.
and
Most
oh,
XF
Shaston, he's in the chat.
yeah,
Welcome. But
yeah,
uh,
XFCE distros a lot of times will use Abbey Word. Like, did you ever
yeah, well,
consider
we
just
decided,
doing
we're going
old
to
Abbey
branch
Word?
out.
Yeah.
And given we're doing this in our own way, we figured, what the hey, might as well throw in Only Office. And
Yeah.
another thing we added was our own system utility, and we've had that. No, no, Shaston, this is not the Manjaro edition. No, this is the standard stock Arch edition.
Yeah. So the StormOS utility tool.
Yeah, the
Talk a little bit
system
about
tool.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is sort of what we call our post-install utility. As you guys can see, it's had a major version revamp, major overhaul. Because I know, Derek, you it's okay, Shaston, everyone's got their opinion, but it refreshes your mirrors. I'll turn on a light, Josh. Hold on. It's kind of dark outside. It's raining crap. All right. So thank you for reminding me. But, this system tool, Derek, I know the last time you looked at this, it was not as good looking as this.
No, it's definitely seen some improvements.
Yes, and Seeker had a hand in that too. And
Mhm.
as you can see, it refreshes your mirrors, does system updates, AUR updates. Just
Yeah, it's got
it
all your
definitely
standard. Yeah,
simplifies, the
like a control
Arch
panel, right?
process.
Yeah, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and it also handles, trackpad drivers, system hardware, NVIDIA drivers, old school NVIDIA
Yeah,
drivers, So if you're
and
on an NVIDIA computer, like an Optimus computer or whatever, it handles that. And,
yeah,
it handles your gaming
I see
programs
that.
and
Yeah, you got the Lutris launcher, and you got
Proton GE,
bottles and
Mango
everything
HUD.
else in there. Yeah, I like it. Uh,
Yeah, and it also handles your printers, your
installs cups and everything.
and
Huh?
then it has some info about Arch, so in a way it doesn't really hold your hand. It just sort of like gives you, sort of like a starting point
Mm-hmm.
to make life a little bit simpler.
Yeah. So someone in the chat was asking about a Manjaro version. Obviously, you're basing
Oh
off
God, I
standard Arch. So, what's the deal? Are you going to rebase on Manjaro going forward, or?
no, 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 no. The Manjaro version is just basically an alternative for those who, have heard of Manjaro but want to get their feet with it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, obviously with Arch, you're trying to obviously have the latest software and have all the advantages of Arch, but you also want to make StormOS beginner friendly. What are the
Yes,
challenges
yes.
of
And
making an Arch based distro?
the Archbase is still going to be the flagship, but Manjaro is for those who have heard of Arch but don't want to go into, you know, the deep, deep waters, yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, but oh, and Shaston says he might be willing to look at the stock Arch version again. Thank you, Shaston.
Yeah.
But yeah, this distro has gone under a huge, like I said, a huge revamp and a huge, just entirely, um, a huge. Well, the revamp was months and months of work, and we just have. Oh, the next gamer has joined us. Hey, buddy.
So let's talk a little bit about some of your customizations as far as the apps, like the system
Yeah,
tool and
because
everything.
as
What
you
are you
can tell,
guys?
despite the large ISO size,
Uh,
it's it's really minimal, as I'm sure you can.
yeah, when I pull up a terminal, we get our little fetch tool.
Yeah, the
There's only
fast fetch.
960 packages installed out of the box, and that's with me not adding
Yeah,
anything,
and
obviously.
also
Uh,
about fast fetch, my buddy Matt, aka Matthew Moore, he's last night he sent me his custom screen Neo Fetch, or
mhm.
not Neo Fetch, fast fetch, and next month we might include that.
Yeah, and get your own logo instead of the Arch logo. Is that what you're trying to do?
Not necessarily. It just uh Josh, that is partly because It's part of the branding, so to speak. But
Hmm.
yeah, but we might do something with the fast fetch icon in there, but the uh the fast fetch config, you'll see it next month. We're gonna
Hmm.
put Matt's fast fetch .json file in there, just customize it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, those fast fetch screens are pretty easy to customize. So,
yeah, he
yeah,
sent me his last night, and it just gives it a little bit more flair.
yeah.
But
I was going to ask, what are you guys writing these custom scripts and applications in? Are you,
uh,
well, first of all, the graphical applications, are y'all using Qt or GTK for like the
um,
system tool and things like that?
Qt5, Qt6 stuff like
Okay, Qt. Okay,
that.
I like it. Yeah.
Yes, and some of these are all
You using
uh,
Python for that, or what are we scripting in?
um, it's a mix of Python and Qt. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't want to get the Rust controversy crap going
No,
on.
no. I mean, especially for a simple tool that's like mostly just a
Yeah.
lot of buttons to push.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
we're
would
trying to
just
keep
write it
again,
in
we're trying to keep
Python.
this
Yeah,
simple, we're not
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
overcomplicate,
There's
the
no reason to go into things like Rust or C++
no,
or
no,
anything
no, we
like
don't want
that.
to go down that
No,
hellhole.
not
No,
for that kind of stuff.
no, of course. And again,
Y'all
this
do
is
a lot of
about
Bash scripting as
cleanliness,
well, or
this
I know in previous editions you had some custom Bash scripts on the system, or y'all still doing a lot of that stuff too.
we have well, not as much, no, but if you open up our .bash RC, you'll see we're using Oh
Hmm.
My Bash and just some aliases to help simplify. Uh,
Well, I would open up the Bash RC, but this was another complaint I was going to have.
no, no, no,
You
no.
already know what
We're
I'm going to
not
say.
trying to scare people away.
You know what I'm going to say. Why is Vim not on the system? But here's the thing. I understand not everybody wants to ship Vim. Well, VI is the
Oh my
standard. So let
God.
me type VI Bash RC, VI not on the system.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Like, what are we
We
doing?
will fix that next
You know
month. I
what? How about I
promise.
just cat the .bash RC so I can read it? There we go. But
Oh
yeah,
my God. I know Shaston's gonna
uh,
give me a hard time about it. So just for you and him, we will fix that next month.
yeah. But you
Don't
got a
worry.
nice, yeah, a nice short bash RC too. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not 1,000
Well,
lines long. Thankfully, so it's easy
Ricky
to
was
read.
giving me a hard time about including Vim, but because he's not fond of it. But
Yeah,
I
but it's such a
will.
small program, and so many people are going to want it.
Yeah.
Uh, and you
Right,
got to have
I know.
VI. VI is kind of like
I
a
know
standard.
BI and Vim
Yeah,
definitely is
yeah,
popular, so I know we will. And even Steve from Zero Linux says he's going to put it in his too.
yeah. Well, a lot of people back in the day avoided putting full Vim on an ISO and just preferred sticking with VI just for
No,
size. But
I got it. Well, we will
these
definitely put
days, I
something
mean,
along those lines.
programs are so huge these days. Like the size of Vim is nothing compared to most things now. So if
Yeah,
you really wanted to, you could do like the Vim Tiny package or whatever the hell it is, the stripped
yeah.
down version of
And
Vim.
even
But
Paul R73 says blasphemy to this.
yeah,
I know. Well, we will, as of today, that is going to be fixed.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
Josh says
there's
his
just
OS
very
will
very
never
very
ship
few
me
Linux
back. Oh my
distributions
God.
I've ever looked at that didn't have either Vim or VI on the system. I think
Yeah,
that was
I
about
know,
the
I
first.
know.
Yeah,
Everybody's hating Ben now.
yeah.
Well,
All the Vim fanboys are coming out now from.
we forgot. What am I gonna say?
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
what are you guys? How are you guys managing this balance of being convenient as far as convenient features, user friendly, with also the fact that Arch, this, Ben, Arch updates. And here
All the
recently,
time.
Arch
Yeah.
updates have been a little flaky because we've had issues. Those of us that are
Yes,
on Arch, we
we've
know this.
had.
So, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, we've been pushing out ISOs frequently to combat that. We've
Mhm.
been giving
Mm,
this ISO, that ISO, this and that and this and that.
mm,
It's very, it's it's just been we pushing, because yes, you're right. The Arch updates have been a little, you know,
yeah.
all over the place recently, and that's partly why we've been pushing out ISO one after the other, just sort of combat that inconsistency recently.
Yeah. Well,
But you know,
does that the fact that you're going to probably have to put out an ISO at least every month, no more than every 2 months, probably just to keep up. Does that bother you? Like basing off of Arch, it's the
it,
fact you got to
it
build so
does
many
get a
ISOs.
little taxing here and
Yeah.
there, I'll be honest, but
Because if
you
you built
know,
off of Debian, you build an ISO every 2 years, right? Because you want to
right.
update,
But the
right? So,
problem with that is, if we did that, then a lot of that consistency and
yeah.
that, just all the stuff might break that
Well,
we,
no, people will complain because it's too old. The software is too old,
yeah,
right?
it's sort of a double-edged
Yeah.
beast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not entirely, the nature of distro building, is it's like a double-edged sword, you want that consistency, but at the same time, you want, you know, things to work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of, again, this is just the nature of how things work, and this is why we chose Arch, was because we know that, and this sort of goes back to the history of StormOS, it started out as, an alternative to Manjaro that kind of removing the middleman, so to speak.
Right.
And
Well, I'm
it
glad
was
yeah,
it
I was actually,
was,
I was going
it's
to
sort
ask
of
you this,
removing
Ben.
the middleman, so to speak, and making
Mm-hmm.
something that, was easy but not overly hectic,
Yeah.
And I feel like we've continued that tradition, and while Matt is just doing the website now,
Mm-hmm.
we we kept it, the same basic process, removing the middleman, Manjaro.
Right. Yeah.
And that's sort of our goal, is to keep Arch as simple as can be.
Yeah. Because it's definitely evolved over the years.
Yes, and kudos to the users. Given we've gotten 30K downloads, and we're at 155 on the distro watch list, and just growing as we go. So it
hmm,
is amazing how much this distro has gotten just over the past 5 to 7 years, since August of 2018, and that was its first inception, and unbelievable where it's come now.
yeah. Well, lot of people will say that, it's there's just so many Arch based distros.
Yeah,
It's
and there
it's
are a
just
lot of competitors out there, and
right.
it's just, you know
Uh,
that
that's the main thing. When people make especially a Arch based distro or a Debian based distro, the first thing you get, I'm sure you've heard this, is what's the point? Or it's a pointless distro. It's just another, right?
yeah, and it's
Yeah,
that competition that,
yeah.
it's part of what keeps us going, is
Yeah.
that, there's always going to be some competitor out there, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not
Well,
we're not slowing down by any means of the word.
when people that ask what's the point of a piece of software, like a piece of free software, what's the point? The point is I wanted to do it, and I did it
Yeah,
because I could, because I
we
could,
saw what
right?
other options were out there, and we didn't
Right.
like it, so we
Yeah.
said, "What the heck?
Yeah.
We're gonna make our own."
Yeah. It's strange when people complain. We talk about free software and the freedom that comes with it is you get to fork
You
it and do
get to
what you want with
remake it
it.
as your own if you
Yeah.
want.
And then when people do it, they complain, hey, you shouldn't exercise that freedom. Quit making those distros. Like,
Right, but
yeah.
in my mind, that sort of kills the point of the project.
Right. Totally agree.
Yes, and that's why, and that's when I first got into Linux, that's what I believed and still believe to this day, is that if you want to make the thing your own,
Yeah.
you know, and to those people I say, go watch the movie Revolution OS. That'll
Yeah.
get the point across.
And you got to think 99.9% of scripts and programs and things people write, easily 99.9% of it is
Is
never
a
going
fork.
to be popular. It's never going to make any money. It's never going to be monetized at all.
Oh
This
no.
is what people do for fun. Sometimes they do it for their own education. Hey, I want to see if I can do this. Let me go learn about it. Do the thing. That's it's not. I don't know. A lot of people confuse free software with the proprietary model. Like there has to
Yeah.
be some, like I'm trying to, you know, take over the world with a piece of software. No,
No,
I'm just,
no.
I just want to learn some Python or some Rust or some
Or this,
Go or
yeah.
something. And, it's a project, right? That's all it is.
Right. And all we're doing is, you know, again, all we're trying to do is just do something nice for the community,
Mm-hmm.
just give them, a nice arch alternative that isn't overly cryptic and difficult.
Yeah. So why XFCE, man?
Well, the more we thought about it, you know, we were considering maybe doing, I don't know, a KDE version or,
Mm-hmm.
going with a window manager or something like that. It's totally, you know, there was just a lot of debates amongst the team about, you know,
Yeah.
different other desktops that we could go with as an
Well, I can tell you,
alternative to
I for one,
XFCE. But, you
uh,
know, the
I,
problem
I,
with that was it would make ah, it would make it, in my mind, the more the team and I talked about it, it was, yeah, uh, actually, Steve said it right then and there. Katie, yeah, live and croak on it. You know, the
well, the
more, the
problem
more
is,
the again, the
everybody
more the
does
team and I
KDE.
talked about it,
Yeah.
KDE,
Yeah.
while yes, it has gotten better over the years, ever since the 4 and 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is such a double-edged sword desktop. It's familiar, it's good, but there's so many options that comes with that, and we just didn't want to confuse the heck out of the users.
Yeah. Well, I just think like literally everyone makes GNOME and KDE distros. Like
Right,
that's
and
all
to
that
us,
people do now.
that wouldn't
Ever
be
since the
unique, and
rise of
that would have been a
Wayland,
lot.
especially,
Right,
ever since Wayland came around, there's only two desktop environments that work on Wayland, GNOME and KDE. So that's all anybody wants to do. And it's like, damn, there's like XFCE is still fantastic.
right,
Cinnamon is still
exactly, and that
fantastic.
was our
Budgie's
mindset
still,
as well, was that,
yeah,
it's it's familiar, it
yeah,
works, and you don't have to bend over backwards to
yeah.
put together a
It is
setup
really
that looks like
frustrating.
this,
Yeah, it is. If you're somebody that does not want to use GNOME or KDE, which is my case, I don't want to use either one of those desktop environments. The fact that that's all people put out is it's a shame. It really
Yeah,
is.
it
Like
really
it's
is.
just
And we just wanted to give something that was familiar, but we didn't, but
uh,
something that, not many people would want to use if
mhm.
they don't want to.
Well,
And
XFCE. I think it's a
that was
smart
the
choice.
primary, that was one of the primary reasons we picked XFC, was because, if you're a window manager nut like I know
Mm,
you are, and you don't mind certain uh desktops like XFCE, something minimal like that,
yeah,
where you're just somebody who wants something, that doesn't like have a dozen, you know, options in it.
yeah. For
XFCE.
somebody like me, what I would probably do,
Mhm.
of course I'm going to hack it if I installed it.
Oh
I
no,
would I would switch out the window manager from the XFCE4 window manager to OpenBox, right? So
right,
I
because
can
we
have
were
my
just talking about that before the show, and
yeah.
yeah,
No,
and
yeah.
Plus
Huh.
the fact, open box is a fairly good is and still a very popular option
Yeah.
out there these
Or I
days.
could just run OpenBox by itself. Yeah, I could just log
Yeah,
into
and just
it.
throw the
To,
XFCE panel on top of it if you
or Fluxbox or Awesome.
or
I know
just
you like the
whatever,
Awesome. Yeah.
awesome window manager,
Yeah.
And I've played around with the awesome window manager somewhat here and there, and I got
Yeah.
to tell you, it's a heck of a good window manager desktop.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that you're only installing like 960 packages out of the box makes it a good base to, like, if you
To
just want
build from, yeah.
an Arch system, you don't want to run XFCE, you want to install something else. Well, you don't have to strip out a whole lot
A
out of this
whole lot
distro.
to
Yeah,
it,
right.
because you can strip out the XFC session package, and
Yeah, I,
a lot of that extra cruft that XFC comes with
yeah. I wouldn't even bother doing that, to be honest. I would just install whatever window manager I want to use. I'd leave XFCE there as a backup because
as a
sometimes
fallback.
things happen.
Yeah.
Window managers break and you need a different login
Yeah.
to get in and fix things. So,
Right. And it's you know, if you want to replace just the window manager in XFC, that's easy. You just go into the
yep,
config file and just switch it over. Yeah.
yep. Oh,
And or you can just go, or you can even go as far as this, put a switcher icon in the launcher thing in the panel and just do that too. But
mm-hmm.
if in my mind, if you're gonna replace the window manager, something like KWin or Compiz or something else like that, even a standalone window manager, just do that. Just go in the config file and boom, done. You know,
You have to be totally insane to install KWin on top
on
of
XFCE.
XFCE, right? Uh, like
You
we
might as
need to
well
have an
just,
intervention if somebody's going to do that, right? We need, uh, but
yeah,
yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, GTK based
yeah,
window
yeah. Because if you're
managers.
gonna
Stuff.
put KWin on top of XFCE just for those fancy
Woo.
effects and crap, it's not worth it. Because you
Yeah.
have to install all these KDE bloated dependencies. It's like, why?
Mm-hmm. Earlier you mentioned a couple of names that were a part of the Storm OS team.
Yeah,
Can you talk a little bit
Seeker,
about the
Ricky,
community?
and
Yeah.
heck, we even had we had Natalie in the chat and Darren, and we had a couple of them help us out here and there with the calamari settings and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, you like playing around with calamaris?
Oh God, don't even get me started on that nightmare.
It really is a nightmare.
It really is because I remember you and I had to have a couple of private calls about that a couple of times, and oh my God.
Yeah,
And I
it's
can
not
tell
my
you,
favorite thing to play with.
Steve in the chat from Zero Linux, I can't tell you how many times, you
Hmm.
know, he's even, I've taken a look at some
Well,
of his,
that's why Steve doesn't have much hair left, is because of calamaris.
yeah, calamari's, oh my
Don't be
God.
surprised, Ben, if yours starts going.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes, we all have to, borrow. Oh, Natalie, yeah, a custom installer for
Mhm.
that. Oh my God, my friend, a custom installer. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
No, just fork Steve's. That's all you need.
Oh God, yeah.
Let Steve do all the work. Uh,
Oh,
so how
damn.
did you the community around the distro? How did are these people you already knew, or did they join later? How did you actually motivate people to actually
Yeah.
get together on this thing?
Well, that actually kind of, that kind of was. Oh, before we get into that, Steve says Calmaris is indeed a pain. He would go down the custom installer route, but either way, we might do that. But yeah, to answer your question about how the team came together, well, Matt, after two releases of this used to be called Hackman,
Hmm.
um, Hackman Linux, we decided, it was time for a new name and time for, because due to health and financial issues and things like that, he had to step aside in like 2019, 2020, something like that. So a little while after he left, I decided to keep it going under the new name of StormOS and not let his and I's original vision die. So my buddy Silent, aka Mark, decided to step in and help out for a while. And then he decided he wasn't going to keep his project going anymore. And I then decided to go look around and recruit some new teams, some new co-devs and that kind of thing. And that's when Ricky offered to step in, as did Seeker, and I said, "Okay, guys, where are we going to go from here? What are we going to do?" And that's when we decided to rework the artwork, remake it into our own, and put in some different apps, things like that, make it a heap ton better. And that's where, the team and I decided, we're going to stick together, make this a lot less convoluted and make it into what it is today, and refine the packages list, trim it down. And for years we've been trying to figure out how the heck we're going to do that and just make it into what it is now, and we've accomplished that.
Yeah.
And this is stormtrooper wallpapers. Jesus. uh
Oh,
no, Josh, we removed all that stuff
yeah.
because we've rebuilt the wallpapers from the ground up, using AI, of course, because we don't have an artist right now. And we threw a lot of different things into there versus the Stormtrooper wallpapers. Now, if you want those wallpapers, those are available on my Google Drive, I think. I don't remember. They may not be, because my Google Drive had a lot of stuff cleared out of it.
Yeah, but I'm more of a Trekkie, so we need
And
some
plus,
Klingon wallpapers.
well, yeah, I don't even know if I still have access to those white papers at all.
Mm-hmm.
But but the reason those were removed was because, well, we will try to bring those back, Natalie. For you and Josh, we will try and bring those back. But the only concern with that is controversy with that is, Disney might get on us about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, yeah, the artwork maybe not so much, but yeah, if you'd have named it Stormtrooper OS, somebody might
Yeah, we're not
complain.
gonna do that. Yeah.
Right.
We will look into bringing those wallpapers back for you guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Because
Uh,
if we include those, then that may not be such a controversy. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, it's going to continue to get better, and we are going to continue to improve and throw things in there as we go forward.
Hmm.
Oh, and it goes. We do have a link to the distro in the description as well as the website. And yeah, I'll get with Matt about cleaning up the homepage and making it, less.
Yeah. For those watching the stream,
Hmm.
yeah, I linked to their website and their source forge, the source forge where you can download the
Yeah,
ISO.
well,
I will say when I downloaded the ISO 2 days ago, SourceForge is kind of flaky. It took a
yeah,
long
well,
time for that download to happen.
yeah, it takes a little while.
If
Yeah,
you catch it on a good day, SourceForge can be quick. You catch it on a
yeah.
bad day, it can take a
We
while.
uh we did put it on the archive.org at one point, but those mirrors are just
Hmm.
are just, they're flaky too. So we're gonna look into maybe putting it on like a server or something of like something later, but we haven't
Yeah.
figured out how we're gonna do that
Yeah. Getting back to the community aspect of this, since you've got some people helping you out with this,
yet.
is there an example of something that you guys have ever disagreed on?
Yeah.
As far as
Oh,
where, because
well,
naturally that's going to happen. So yeah,
yes, it
you got
would.
to give
Yes.
us a good
And,
story, Ben.
there's sort of the story behind that is, for example, they've suggested certain additions to me, like, certain desktop environments like KDE or,
Of
this,
course.
that, yeah, or some change where, maybe Seeker wants to do this, or Ricky wants to do that, or, and sometimes we'll have a meeting about, this change, that change, whatever. And we don't always agree on something, but, we as a group sort of have to like discuss that. I'm like, guys, we
Hmm.
can't make a decision like that, or, you know, we don't. I'm like, we have to discuss this first before, you know, we go and just put this in there, and
Yeah.
sometimes we may not always agree on that,
Yeah.
but
But when it came to removing VI from the Arch package list, everybody agreed with that, right? So,
yes, but
uh,
we are going to have a meeting about, how we're going to go about.
right after this stream, Ben. Right after this.
Well, Ricky's, like I said, he's not feeling well right now, but
Uh,
when he comes back on Wednesday, we are going to
yeah.
talk
Uh,
about, you
get
know,
better, Ricky. Uh,
yeah, yeah. Because right now he's in bed resting and getting medicated and all that for that.
yeah, well, the flu's been going around here. A lot of people
Yeah,
my
a
area have
lot.
been
Well,
coming
he's got
down
a
with.
cold right now. I'm
Uh,
I'm praying it doesn't turn into that.
well, COVID's actually going around again
Oh
around here.
God,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I pray none of us end up with that because I had it once.
Well, after you've had it 3 or 4 times, I mean, it's not as bad as the first
Bad
time.
as it
So,
used to be. Yeah,
right.
but
So I've had it at least twice that I know of, maybe
yeah,
more
yeah.
than that. So
It's
at some point,
very
I'm not too
totally,
worried about it anymore.
right, because I had to be at home for like a week just to get rid of it, and I'm like, God, not again.
Yeah. Yeah. The first time I had it was rough. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
in
I
bed for
had
like
it
eight
once. I'm
days,
like,
but uh,
I'm doing everything I can to avoid getting the dang thing again.
mm, yeah. Well,
But, yeah, I'm praying Ricky doesn't get it because the poor guy's been having
hmm.
all this stuff, and the last thing I want to do is mention that. So.
So I
But
know.
yeah, I mean, getting back
I
to the
know you're
point,
proud of your distribution here, Ben, and because when you talk about it, I can tell you're pretty excited about it.
yeah.
You're obviously seeing some success. How do you
Oh,
measure that
yes, yes.
success? Is it just by the downloads? I mean, how
Oh,
do you see like more community engagement? I don't know if you
oh,
guys
well,
had got a
it's not just
Discord,
it's not just the download to the community, but the reviews, the
right?
positive feedback, the etc. It's enough to keep the hype going for
Yeah.
me, and you know,
Because there's no good metrics on any of this stuff with open source software as far as
oh
how
no,
many
no,
people
there's
use
not.
it.
I mean,
Yeah. Uh,
it's the love for the community and the love for the Linux paradigm in general that we
mm-hmm.
keep this distro alive. And like we said in the beginning, StormOS has had such a history since 2018 that, I hate to stop developing it just because, we we get burned out for whatever reason. That's
Mm-hmm.
hardly a reason in my mind to
Yeah.
throw in the towel, you know.
Yeah. You mentioned you're seeing some success on Distro Watch as well, rising
Yes,
up their
we're at
rankings.
155, and
Uh,
we're trying to get up towards the top areas. So the
how long did
more,
it take you to get listed on Distro Watch? Because I know you've been doing this distro for a number of years under various names. Um,
yeah, yeah.
did you? How long was the wait for that?
Oh, I want to say it was a couple of years
No.
because what? Hold on. But yeah, the, sorry, my mom made me lose my train of thought, but
That's all right. Distro Watch, the wait time.
yeah, the wait
Uh,
time was a couple of years because we had to get exorbitantly popular before we got on there. But the continued downloads, I guess, and the just the amount of reviews that we've had recently, I guess, convinced them to throw us on there. We
yeah.
don't exactly know how that happened, but I guess we just got popular enough that they relented or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, at some point, you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna rise above mainstream distributions like Gentoo, for example. Nobody really uses that thing. Josh in the chat.
Oh
So,
God, yeah. Well, right
wouldn't that
now
be a
Cashy
flex
is
when
sort of.
StormOS passes Gentoo, right? So,
Oh God, yeah.
or
Well,
Slackware.
hopefully we reach that point, but right
Yeah.
now Cashy is sort of stealing the spotlight from a lot of other distros. But hopefully
No,
we'll
Cashy's a good distro.
yeah, Cashy is very good. Yes,
Yeah.
I will give it that. But hopefully we reach the that point at some point, but it's not there yet.
Yeah. Um, what are your stance as far as the AUR on StormOS?
Oh, golly. I knew we were going to reach that point at some point.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
man.
have to talk about it. Yep.
Well, I know. Well, as the main guy behind this project, and that's very unlikely to change, the AUR, oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I have tested several AR packages, and that is very, very, that is sort of a double-edged sword, no matter what Arch distro you're talking about.
Yep. Well, I mean, I
And
noticed you installed Yay out of the box.
oh, yes, we did
So,
because,
so I
for
assume you don't mind
example,
people installing stuff from the AUR.
well, that's well, it's mainly to simplify that, and it's not. Uh, and here's the thing. Hey, Wayland is. Well, actually, I'm not going to even go down that rabbit hole, but
Mm-hmm.
chaotic AUR is also something that we are not are not planning to include because we've already included Yay, where we've already simplified the AUR as it is. We are not going to include chaotic AUR.
Oh well,
Oh,
that was the next thing I actually was going to ask is did you actually?
no, we are not going to
No,
do
I
that. And
don't see
even
it
in
listed in the
and
mirrors.
right, and even in Stormjaro, we are not going to do that either.
Hmm.
Because here's the thing, the AUR is already a convoluted cryptic mess as it is. We do not want to indulge people combining Pac-Man stock repos on either version with the convolutedness of the AUR. We are just not going to do that. And also I know Ricky would talk about this if he was here, backing me up and all that. And even if he was just in the chat, well, Natalie is right. If you do take the time out to read the package builds, you know, it would it would sort of simplify the fact that the AUR isn't horrible. It's just you have to sort of read the package builds in order to understand what exactly it's doing. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm.
and I'm going to stress this before you use the Y install helper thing that we have in the bash RC guys, please read the package build with using simple yay whatever package before you consider using that alias. I'm just going to make that distinction right now.
Mm. Yeah, but if
It's
you,
something I wanted to point out there because if you come to us looking for why the heck did my system break just because you installed, some AUR package, that is insane.
yeah, but if you enable the chaotic AUR, then people don't have to build things from source. They don't
Right,
have to worry
that's
about the.
true. So we might consider throwing the chaotic AUR into the
And also the chaotic AUR because they've already built binaries and they've
or
already,
the distro, yes.
it's less likely to contain some of that malware where people go
Or
and
the et
find
cetera,
random
yeah.
package
Yeah,
builds
and
and
that's
build it
kind of
themselves.
why, for
Yeah.
example, on Stormjaro, I've already done that.
Mm-hmm.
And, that does kind of save the need to actually throw in third-party packages into a custom repo.
Yeah.
And, the only thing we do on Stormjaro, for example, is throw in the icon theme in that repo, and we throw the chaotic AUR packages into there,
Yeah.
because it saves having to, throw extra packages in there and overload the system.
Yeah. The chaotic AUR is nice for some
Yeah, and it's
things
so simple just to throw it in there.
like web browsers that you don't want to build yourself. If you're
Exactly.
that
It
aren't in
makes
the
it
repos,
so
right? Yeah,
simple.
because you know how long it takes to compile a web browser, Ben.
Oh,
You've
oh
used
God.
Gentoo,
And
so
also don't
right.
get me started on Qt WebKit for that either.
Oh yeah. And what were you building Qt WebKit for? Were you
Well, we don't include that anymore, but it was part of one of our old packages that we had, or one of our old programs that we used to include in there. I
mm-hmm.
forget what the heck it was, but it was one of our custom programs relied on Qt WebKit. And oh, building
You
that
weren't trying to make
again.
your own browser, were you? Like a Falcon browser
Oh
or a Epiphany or
no,
something like
no, it
that?
was it
uh,
was one of our Chromium forks actually that we had
yeah.
a long, long time ago that required Qt WebKit or
Mm-hmm.
Qt Web Engine, one of the two. And oh my Lord, building that from the AUR was a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And um just it was night and day trying to build that dang thing. And I finally said, look, guys, we got to talk about this because this is just too much of a hassle to build every time. And plus
Mm-hmm.
the fact, a game I play, Star Wars Galaxies, they're one of the launchers that I use on my system
Mm-hmm.
actually requires WebKit to actually be built into the system, and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
So I just said, screw this. I'm just going to use it through Wine because, that was such a pain in the rear.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the chat, Josh is saying he'll be in New Orleans next month if I want to meet up and have lunch. Well, I'm about 4 hours from New Orleans, which isn't a bad drive.
Yeah.
But when you
It,
say have lunch, unless it's in one of the casinos, probably
what
not
are
going
the
to make that drive.
casinos?
So
Oh my God.
I'll drive 4 hours if you want to play some blackjack or something, play some craps, and then we'll go eat lunch. But
Yeah, because you got to have
I'm going to
something to
hit the
pass the
casinos if
time.
I go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, degenerate gambler. I admit it.
Degenerate gambling. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Ben, talk about the future of StormOS because
Oh,
we know where you're at now. What are you
what
looking
a
forward to?
topic. Okay.
Uh,
The future of StormOS. My word. Well, we're gonna keep going. We're not slowing down. We're gonna keep trucking and
mhm,
you know, we're just gonna see what it holds because we want to we love you guys and we want to keep it going and hopefully we'll expand the team and just you know because we welcome people into this thing as if they want to help they can and we're definitely looking forward to seeing where we end up and hopefully like I said we end up higher up on the distro watch and the downloads and just
yeah.
keep
Are you
things coming.
planning different desktop
Different
and window
desktop.
manager editions? Because I know that's what you said. You disagreed with folks
You
about. So
know, we have thought about maybe doing something like Josh said in the chat. Maybe we might do something based on Wayland, maybe KDE or a standalone window manager version at some point, but that's unconfirmed right now, and we're thinking about it.
mhm.
It takes a lot to build something as successful as XFCE, and you know, it's we might do that, but don't hold us to that right now.
Yeah, it probably would be an easier transition if you wanted to do like a GNOME ISO because you got a lot of
Oh yeah,
GTK based stuff
definitely. Because
anyway. Yeah,
GNOME is you just throw a couple extensions on
right.
it and a
It wouldn't
nice
be the kind of complete rewrite like your whole build
yeah.
system would have to change as far as what
It
you're
would be a
installing with
huge
KDE. Yeah.
it could be a huge overhaul that
Hmm.
would be easier said than done.
Yeah. And GNOME is not as bloated in some ways as
No,
KDE. I know
it's
people
not
are
as
gonna.
bloated as it once was.
Yeah, I know people are gonna. The KDE fanboys are going to come at me. It's like, KDE's not bloated.
Well,
As far
it's a
as
lot of
It's not bloated in terms of it runs fast.
Yeah.
It's bloated in terms of it. You
Yeah,
have to install
yeah.
a lot
And
of stuff.
Justin says, don't do a GNOME spin. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Well, we
Yeah,
just talked about it, right?
oh
Everybody
my
does one,
God.
right?
Yeah,
Everybody has. You know
yeah,
what?
that might receive a heap of backlash and controversy towards the
I
team.
think he's probably right though, because I was thinking this earlier. Stay in your lane. Don't do GNOME. Don't do KDE. Everybody does that.
No,
Go
no. I
somewhere
mean,
else, right?
we could do, a package full of window managers and just throw it in
Yeah,
Calamares if we wanted to.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Do it.
and I have thought about talking to the team about, just building a bunch of configs for a bunch of window managers and throwing said window managers in Calamares and that sort of thing.
That would be easy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well,
And
reasonably
and
easy.
actually, Steve does make a point. We could do no more Calamares and just throw a simple install script on the desktop and just do that,
Yeah, that would work too.
Yeah, because, I mean, I could get with Natalie and
Hmm.
Steve and just, you know, do like a giant group call and just talk about what we want to do about it.
Yeah. When
Or
it
just a giant chat, whatever, whatever. But, that's just a thought. But anyway, we'll figure something out.
one thing, when I'm talking to people that are building these ISOs,
Mm.
how do you manage the balance of
Mm.
adding new features, maybe that people are requesting, but also fixing bugs? Because there's certainly some bugs in this distro. You're certainly going to have to spend some time. Like, how do you balance that out? As far as work, spending time on
Balance
fixing
what? Sorry.
bug fixes and new features,
Mm.
adding new features.
Oh, new features and bugs.
Yeah.
Um, well, that is that is something that, you know, well, adding new features, we've mainly been using AI to do some of that work because,
Uh-huh.
we're not 100% developers, we're just simple guys who love Linux that just want to implement new things, and we don't want to bend over backwards to end up doing that. But at the same time, we want to, make things look good and make things, less hectic to implement. So that's really,
Mhm. No, I like it though that as far as you using Chat GPT, is that mainly what you're
yeah, we've been
using?
using a mix of that and a mix of DeepSeek and a mix of different
Yeah.
platforms and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mentioned before we started streaming, I was running a little late this morning because I got up early this morning, planning to do some stuff, and I got sidetracked for about 2 or 3 hours playing with Chat GPT and scripting in
Yeah, and
Python on a project I
yeah,
was
and
working on, and the
we could do
time
a future
got away from
discussion.
me a little. Yeah.
Well, actually, Natalie, we use our own repo to host certain packages, but again, certain packages that we include that, we're trying to reduce again the size on the ISO and things like that. So that's why
Hmm.
we don't include a lot of the stuff in our custom repo that we used to include some time ago.
Yeah. When you're scripting and you're using these large language models, Ben, have you tried Claude?
We have tried that in the past, but you know,
I mention it because I've had good success with it.
yeah,
I've
we might
found
look back at
it
that
does.
at some
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Because they all sometimes they're going to spit out some bad
They're
code things.
very hit and miss.
Yeah,
Yes, and
but I
actually,
found Claude really good.
yeah. And
Uh,
also, my friend Sunshine Chris, who's a online sister of mine, actually,
mhm,
she was doing a paper for school. Actually, she does it online, I think, something like that. And she had uh like a report to do or something. I don't know exactly, but she had a she had a very and I think it's due on Tuesday. She said she had some challenges with that and asked my help last night and asked me, what's your thought on the controversy of AI? And I said, well, it's sort of a double-edged sword. It can produce good code, but sometimes it's very hit or miss.
It is. You know, it's not.
Mhm.
You got to find too some of these programs like Claude. When it makes a mistake, you can have it debug
Right back.
itself, and it does a pretty good job. Where I found Chat GPT is not as good. It tends to deliver more errors with programming, and then when you give it error codes, it's not as good as at debugging itself as Claude. That's just been my little bit of an experience with it. So while Ben has stepped away, you guys in the YouTube chat,
Sorry, what,
let
Derek?
me get to you guys and see what's going on here. Oh, Ben's back.
Yeah, and I have to bring in the groceries
Oh,
here.
it's fine, fine. I was checking the YouTube comments. Yeah, Linux Dev Labs, Claude's great, 100%. I had real sources too. Yeah, somebody, Creation OS. I found Claude is great for programming in C. Yeah,
See, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I actually do have to get going pretty
no, that's
shortly.
fine
So,
because I was planning on us having about an hour anyway, so we are
yeah,
right at the 1 hour mark. So, Ben, I appreciate you hanging out
no
and
worries.
talking a little Storm OS with us. And for those of you in the YouTube chat, guys, click the links to the Storm OS website as well as the SourceForge download and check out Ben's distribution. Anything
Yeah.
else, Ben, on the way out?
Well, just thank you very much, guys, and thank you to Derek for having me on to sort of share that that brief time with you, and I look forward to seeing you guys again very soon.
All right, guys. Everybody in the YouTube chat, thanks for hanging out and peace.
Peace, guys.